Good afternoon to all. Sorry, you are muted. Thank you for assemble here. And today we have a session on accelerator incubation opportunity for student and faculties, early stage entrepreneurs. We have esteemed speaker, Samir Shukla sir. Let me introduce our speaker first. So Mr. Shukla sir is an innovation leader for the customer experience and retail with over 19 years of rich professional experience. That includes 14 years of experience in Oracle consulting, in delivery, pre-sales and innovation, and 5 years of experience in industrial process manufacturing. His expertise in customer experience, retail, and supply chain management. He is also involved in solution reviews, bids, and proposals, pre-sale engagement, and in conducting trainings. He has helped customers with their digital transformation journeys. He has created go-to-market strategy for the customer in various organizations and including EMEA, APAC, US, and LED market. He has built innovation solution as well as process automation. I would like to request our speaker, Samir Shukla sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks for this amazing introduction. I feel that I'm doing something very interesting. Yes, in fact, yes, I do a lot of very interesting stuff. With that, good afternoon, everyone. Today, we are going to have a very interesting session. And this session is basically, we all will be looking forward because it is something of bringing a life to what idea we are or we have thought and taking that into the market. So we all are looking into some kind of, somebody who can help us, maybe an institution, maybe a guide, maybe an accelerator who can help. We all would be seeing recently some amazing TV shows like Shark Tank, where people pitch in their ideas and they get quick funding if their idea is worth it. Similarly, there are so many such kind of opportunities that are there, right? What I will do is I'll start with a screen share, and let me just share my screen. Give me a second. All right.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Wonderful. Fine. So we will be talking about how acceleration and incubation opportunities for students and facilities, especially for faculties for early stage entrepreneurs, right? And that is one of the challenge that we face is how quickly we can take our things to the market. Are there any support that is provided by institutions, or what are the supports that is provided by the government, or what are the policies that are around that? So when we talk about accelerator, or when we talk about incubation, business incubation is basically a name given to the process wherein an individual and organization supports the establishment and the growth of a startup, basically. Now, what we will be doing as part of this process is let's see what will be our agenda for today's discussion. We'll be having a brief introduction of what is an incubator or what is an accelerator, what are the difference between these two. We will have an introduction of what are the challenges that we generally face as part of this, what are the pitfalls that we need to do, what are the government policies that are there, what are the various government institutions who are supporting it. We'll be talking about our ecosystem, in particularly how India is doing, or how India has evolved over a period of, in a last decade, how we are doing as an ecosystem in supporting such kind of ideas. We will be talking about what are the support network that we can use in bringing our idea to realization. And not last but not the least, we will be talking about the challenges. And that is one of the things that might be some of the pitfalls that not all ideas, not all enterprises, or not all startups basically are successful. There are challenges, and there's a very interesting theory around that, and what we should be doing in order to achieve that. But before we go there, let's have a quick view of a video.
सर आपके लिए उस पार कार का इंतजाम किया है सर। सर आइए सर प्लीज। ए चल चल आ जाओ। जाओ बोला क्या बात करता है, क्या ऊपर से जाएगा, क्या ऊपर से जा जा। गया मेन शो।
I hate this country. कुछ करो ना।
मैं वहां जाके क्या उखाड़ लूंगा।
कैसी जाने बूंदे आई, जाने कैसा दर्द लाई, सामने क्या है ये तेरे, क्यों रुका है तू बता दे हो। कौन तुझको पार लेगा, कौन होगा वो मसीहा, जिसे तू ढूंढता है वो ही है तू वही है। तुझ में तेरा रास्ता है, तुझ में तेरा है सहारा, तू ही तुझको पार लेगा, तू ही है तेरा किनारा। रास्ता है, तुझ में तेरा है सहारा, तू ही तुझको पार लेगा, तू ही है तेरा किनारा। जिसे ढूंढता है तू ही रे, तू ही रे, तू ही रे तेरा मसीहा हो।
Wonderful. So what this talked about was a very small concept, an idea, and a challenge. We saw that there were government officials, there were people who were very resourceful, but who was the person who took the challenge to address the problem? He was a small guy. And we are all entrepreneurs who are taking their journey. They all start small. And that is the person who is going to take the initiative. That matters. It is not that this idea wouldn't have come in the person who was sitting in the car, or the policeman who was there in the police PCR van, or the minister. It is who is going to take that initiative, who is going to take that risk. So there's a lot of risk that was involved in the process. And this kid, just not named, right? It could be me, it could be you, it could be anybody, right? That person took a calculated risk. And that risk, as people started coming in, joining the journey, they were facilitators. And in the end, the roadblock was removed. That is also, we also feel, or we also face all these kind of things. We see the problems. We see the problems, and that problems, when we discussed in our earlier session, these are the problems that basically lead to a solution, that leads to an idea. If people wanted to travel faster, they created automobile, they created with the jets. Even they were not happy with the jets, they created Concorde, right? There are different kind of things that led to these kind of solutions. So what is needed is a spirit of innovation and a spirit person who can take the risk. Now, in the process, there are facilitators, and that is the topic for today. In the process that, these business incubators see the growth potential and weigh the opportunity before supporting on or funneling funds. You have been watching all those Shark Tank, amazing, sales pitch that those guys come and do in their, in that show. So they try and analyze all those startup ideas, and then they weigh that, and then they invest on it. The selection of a startup involves a high level of research before any decision is taken to support or basically fund a startup, right? In a nutshell, we can say goal of an incubation is to increase the success chance of a business, right? And when we talk about, these are certain definitions. What is a business? It's a legal entity, whereas startup is a startup of a company, or or a project undertaken by an entrepreneur to seek, develop, and validate a scalable business model. Because until and unless your model is a scalable business model, how are you going to, in future, how are you going to expand your process, or how are you going to expand your business? One of the things that is happening, I can share with you, is in the IT spaces. Now, if you take an organization, that organization has got a lot of applications that generally do, right? There can be applications for HR, there can be applications for logistics, there can be applications for payroll, there can be certain homegrown applications, or there can be applications which you have, which the organization has procured over a period of time. If the organization is a big organization, there is always and as we had earlier discussed, that technology keeps on changing very fast. There was a time when people were writing codes on a very different platform. Now things have changed from C++ to Java to Python to, there are so many things, right? And things keep on basically changing every day. New channels are emerging. There's a disruption that is happening. Now at this point of time, investing in or changing the entire landscape of your IT is not a wise idea, because your organization setup has evolved over a period of time. So there's a new concept that is of microservices, right? Now these microservices, you integrate with many things, and as you keep on enhancing, as you keep on growing, you can keep on improving your model. So, and these microservices basically enables you to have a scalable business model, right? You don't have to do anything. You can today you have something, you keep on enhancing as your business grows. So these are certain set of ideas, and we will talk about what is our footprint, what is our landscape looking like, right? Business incubation we have talked about. We will talk about more about accelerators and all that. Over the years, what we have seen that experts have defined business incubation in their own way. The underlying concept, however, remains the same, right? According to Sherman and Chappell, a business incubator is an economic development tool, primarily designed to help create a new business in a community, right? Business incubator supports emerging business with several services, such as assisting in basic things like management teams, developing business, helping in the marketing plans, helping in generating the funds and getting the funds, providing professional services, having a shared equipment, right? Like you have a common business facility where a lot of people can come, they can discuss their ideas, right? They can start as a common workspace, because they cannot afford a big office or a premise, right? And there can be various such kind of things that is happening. And there is no dearth of startups that work on a brilliant idea with a huge concept of scaling. However, these companies have very little knowledge about management, and therefore they burn the cash very rapidly. And that we will come when we talk about the challenges. What is the death valley, and how they can overcome that. Business incubators help startup manage funds, finances, ensure proper utilization of the money, managing a business locally. And that plays a very significant role in managing the foundation, making the foundation very strong, right? And not only making the foundation strong, but scalable. And that we have already discussed, like when we talked about microservices. So it has to be a scalable business model. So business incubators essentially perform the same function. And these business incubators that target businesses that want to establish themselves formally in the market, such as business with a great potential, might require various such kind of support. because these are new. They don't know how to see the market. But once a person has started a business, he knows what is the next step that should be, and that person becomes a serial entrepreneur. And that is what we talked in our earlier sessions, that once a person is an entrepreneur, he's an entrepreneur for the life, right? So what are the various types of startups, right? You can have a lifestyle startup where you create your business just because of sheer passion. There can be small businesses, there can be scalable businesses, there can be, you create a business just to sell it. So in fact, that is happening a lot these days, because you find a niche, or you find a problem in a system, and you create a solution around that and basically sell that to the organization, bigger organizations. In fact, couple of my friends, when they thought of an idea when they were presenting a solution of how can we have a better presentation, like we generally use PowerPoint and all that. So can that PowerPoint presentation be made more interactive? Can we have zoom ins, zoom outs? And that's how all these companies like Prezis and all those have evolved, because they want to make the presentation lively. And there are some large company startups, right, which certainly come and they just evaporate. And there are social startups which are basically driven to make a difference in the ecosystem, right? And generally, when we have these kind of startups, they generally, once they start with one thing, then which is the MVP that we discussed in our last session, and once they have it, they generally evolve, add a new product, add a new business line, add a new target segment. Like when Big Basket, launched its service, they started with Big Basket, which were delivering the groceries either next day or the same day. Then they came up with Big Basket Daily. Then they came up with Big Basket Instant, where they had all these kiosks established in bigger apartments and all that, where you can just do it. So there are based on various segments, they have their business services, and that's how they evolved, right? All right. Now, how is the startup innovation system or the startup system is there in India? As per the NESCOM report, India is the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. The first being US, followed by UK, followed by India, and then followed by Israel, right? And if we see the year-on-year growth of on a constant annual growth, that is around 12 to 15%, which is huge. And if you come to Bangalore, or if you go to a metro or a Silicon City, you will see every corner people will be talking about new systems, how they can bring the idea. If you go to a coffee shop in Bangalore, you will definitely hit at least 2 or 3 people who will be talking about some idea and how they can launch a product or a service, or how they can launch their business. So there are a lot of, and that is happening because of the support of the ecosystem, right? India has about more than 50,000 startups in 2018, and of more than 9,000 of these were technology led. So which was there in Silicon Valley, either in Noida or in Gurgaon or in Bangalore, Pune, Mumbai, right? Which means that essentially there was at least 2 to 3 startups. They were getting born every day. Means that people were having so much of ideas. But if you talk about US, there are around 40,000 that are happening, right? So there's a huge gap, and we'll try and see what is the reason behind this gap, and we try and find out how we can improve it. Because until and unless you know what are your gray areas, you will not be able to work on that, right? Now, how we can link it with with an ecosystem, right? What are the how incubators basically can help? So they can provide physical facility support, which refers to the incubation services provided in a physical facility, or you can have a networking facility after a physical facility. Business incubators help to start up with networking facilities to grow the business, where they can interact with similar like-minded people. They might want to have access to certain guides, certain mentors who have already done it. So there are a lot many things. Even they can talk about themselves. Like if you see how is EV business happening in India, like there's a lot of focus on automating or electrifying the cars. And there are so many people who are talking and who are working on different aspects of the business, right? There are startups who are working on automating the providing the support to automobile itself. There are people who are working on how we can have fast charging systems across the across India. And there are various other segments where they can add a lot of value to it. How can they increase the charge capacity from 300 kilometers to 500 kilometers, and so on and so forth? How can they make the things very sturdy? And there are so many things. Security aspect of it, there can be connectivity aspect to it, there can be time aspect to it. There are so many aspects that if a ecosystem of a startup in that ecosystem starts looking into it, there's no dearth of ideas, right? Now, when we talk about various indicators of the growth, which means that how India is doing, we have seen we can keep it in two ways. One is before 1990s, when the globalization was not there, and after globalization was there, there's a significant change that has happened, right? Now, I'm currently sitting in Bangalore, and Bangalore has listed within the world's 20 leading startup cities, and that was in 2019, and it continues to have that, right? It is one of the fastest growing startup city. Now, you might be seeing that currently there are a lot of rains that is happening in Bangalore, and you might be hearing that even the big guys are not are also touched with that. So you will hear Flipkart in the news, you will hear an Academy in news, you will hear Byju's in news. So all these are happening in Bangalore because there is a environment, there is a ecosystem that helps the growth. But apart from the ecosystem, there is a corporate connect, right? Now there are a lot of partnerships with Facebook that is happening. There are organizations like Goldman Sachs which are helping women to have launch become entrepreneurs. There are various Microsoft ventures that is happening. There are various accelerator programs that is happening. So there's a lot of corporate connect which is helping this ecosystem feed new entrepreneurs. Then there is a lot of government support that is happening. So there are if I was in fact searching for a expo that is going to happen in Pragati Maidan next year for smart cities. And one of this whenever we talk about smart cities, there's a lot of focus of government in the smart cities. So there's a huge potential out there. And when we talk about smart cities, smart city is smart in the sense of whether it is traffic, whether it is waste management, whether it is in terms of hospitals, whether it is in terms of education, whether it is in terms of road, whether it is in terms of general governance, whether it is in terms of policing. And there are so many aspects of a smart city where there are a lot of startup ventures that can be started. Well, similarly, there are if you log into the site of Startup India, you will find that what are the various things that government is doing in terms of facilitating it, and we will come to that later, right? All right. Now there is what I have just put is a traditional approach, and what is the startup age. There are now if I was to, in fact, when I moved from Delhi to Bangalore, I was looking for is it possible that I can search for a home where I need to move online without paying anything to the broker, right? Or when I landed in Bangalore, I was looking for taxi, so I went to the taxi stand and booked my taxi. When I first came to Bangalore, now things have changed, right? I had to search for a PG. Now there is OYO available. Now in fact, in Bangalore, if you are making a payment, even a single rupee payment, that you are doing a digital payment, right? So there are so many things that is facilitating the digital payment, whether it's Paytm, whether it is Bharat Pay, or so many such kind of startups have created things out of that, right? Now, if you are, when I first moved, I had to purchase things. Now you can get furnitures online. Furlanco is there, or there are different kind of startups. If I was trying to find out, for my regular exercises. Now there are so many things that you can do. There are a lot of things that are available in terms of whether it is every aspect of the business or every aspect that touches you. There is a possibility of startup. Be it the time you wake up, for your fitness, for your food, for your grocery delivery, from education till your office thing. Every aspect is being covered by that, right? Now, what are the gray areas where we need to focus, right? Now, one of the challenge that we have is ease to do business, and we have heard about this n number of places that single window clearance is not there. If a person has to start a business, the person has to take approvals from so many kind of things, right? So that is one of the things that where government is working, and there are a lot of policies that government is rolling out. There are a lot of economic zones that government is rolling out where you can set up your things, get tax benefit also, and take other benefits also, right? So that is part of it, right? Now, other thing is about, I'll give you some stats around that. The state and central government is pumping almost 310 billion into improving school infrastructure and teaching resources, right? There's a lot of things that went online, and we saw that how COVID-19 impacted that, how quick transformation it built. So people who were not even thinking of working from home, or the students who used to go to school, now they have started taking classes online, and there was a lot of input, and that's how business of Zoom, Team, Google Meets, all these grew. So there was a huge potential that it gave, right? Similarly, there are entrepreneur opportunities with Digital India, Make in India, Startup India, Swachh Bharat. There are so many initiatives that are there, and there are a lot of fund that you can get as part of micro development refinance agency, which is Mudra, where you can get your venture funding, your people from angel investors can invest on you, provided you have a proper business plan. And that we have seen the journey in our earlier sessions, how we can do it, right? Now, let us, now before we jump into this, any questions so far? If you have any questions, you can put that on the chat, and I'll have a look and then respond to it. Thanks.
Okay.
Now, all right. So now let us see how we can have an ecosystem building on a campus. So there are three major things. One is educate. When we say educate, it basically talks about offer introductory entrepreneurship course. Have certain courses around that, and there are a lot of institutions that are doing it. There are a lot of education institutions, who are running a course on this. Provide supportive staff and facilities, right? People who can guide, who can help you refine your business idea, who can help you as a mentor, where to go for funding, how you can go for funding, what is the MVP that you should have. So that kind of guidance is provided, right? To help about that, and how they can create a business pitch. Teach through role models and success stories. There are so many business ideas that have become successful around us. Educate the people who are interested in this about these stories. Motivate them through various channels, right? Then the second part of is to stimulate, which is support. Have a support team, which is which provides support funding. Have a team that is there, which is formed on the principle of trust. Then there should be a mechanism for idea validation. Then you can have a pitching opportunity, where to pitch, how to pitch, right? There are many places where you can take your business idea. We talked about Shark Tank, right? There are a number of places where it is done. There are incubator cells where people you invite venture capitalists to come and basically review their idea, support them, and then if they like the product or the service, they can invest also. So there are a lot of things that can happen, right? Then very critical when we talk about Stimulate is prototype development. What is the MVP that we are going to develop as part of that? Now, when we move from Stimulate to Incubate, it can talk about helping in terms of co-working workspace, basically a mentoring or networking kind of place where a lot of people can come share ideas, share their views, refine their things, refine their product, refine their service. Then have a plan B for competition, what you are planning to do, provide accelerator program. And as we move, we will try and find out what is the difference between incubator and an accelerator, and then provide the funding also. So this is a basic system which basically works on educate, simulate, and incubate, which we can have on the campus to help our early stage entrepreneurs to take this journey. Right. Now, let us see about how this evolving entrepreneurship helps basically. So as we talked about, we have to, educate our people which are in the college, and that basically starts from because youths are basically the force, right? They have a lot of ideas. In fact, yesterday I was talking to some of the campus graduates, and they were talking about how they were creating a machine learning program to help in security, right? Understanding the facial features, comparing with the database. So that is the kind of idea that people are thinking. So we have to sensitize the youth. What are the, what are the opportunities that they have? Encourage them. Sometimes, parents think that what this person is going to do after that. So it is not only to sensitize the youth, but also to the parents, the teachers, that what is a possible opportunity that they can have, right? Similarly, creating appreciation about opportunities, about the risk, about the rewards, telling them that what they can do, right? In fact, in my village, there's a person who passed out of college, and then he started his own industry there, small scale industry of packaged foods. And now what that guy is doing is using that packaged good which is doing there and supplying it to various organizations, to various hotels, to various institutions, right? All those packaged goods. And the beauty of that is, in fact, a couple of days back, it's a kind of anecdote that was circulating in the channels here, that one of the guys from IT company was feeling sleepy when he was writing a code. So he ordered coffee from Cafe Coffee Day through Swiggy. That Swiggy guy, since he was stuck somewhere, that Swiggy guy went to Cafe Coffee Day, got the coffee, but he did a dunzo, and the dunzo guy was came and delivered on a Yulu. So that is the kind of entrepreneurship that is happening these days, that everywhere, in every aspect of your life, there is something that is coming from that evolved from an idea, and that became a huge business, right? Then second is the facilitate loan and the private equity investment, where you tie up with banks, financial institutions for smooth credit flow, both in terms of working capital as well as for the working capital for the students, right? Then facilitate private equity investments to help young entrepreneurs, family businesses, successors, to support the industry, right? And the government, with industry and the government agencies, right? Have startup fairs, business plans, competitions, participate in hackathons, participate in startup ideas. There are so many things that are happening, right? Then have a joint certification and the research collaboration, which increases the activity for, research and exchange programs, right? Exchange rigor of research program through partnership, national and international organizations, that will give you an idea what is happening around the globe. What matters in India might not, what idea is basically going to sell in India might not be selling in some part of Latin America region, or maybe in Caribbean islands, right? So what are the things that you can get from there? So there are a lot many things. When we talked about Ansoff matrix, right? You can get a new idea or a new service and position in an existing market or a new market. So there are a lot of things that can be done when we do these kind of joint certifications and the research collaborations, right? Then is the basically the advocacy for a conducive policy on entrepreneurship, right? Advocate for policy initiatives to further cause of entrepreneurship or the education with institutes like UGC, right? AIU, DEB, NBA, and there are so many regulatory bodies that you can basically start working with them, which will help the entrepreneurs. Right. Now, let us try and understand what is the difference between an incubator and an accelerator. Now, when we talk about incubator is a structure and collaborative program, right? That helps to succeed a startup. Now, whereas when we talk about accelerator is a short term. When we say short term, it can be 3 months, 6 months, up to a year for the people who have already have an MVP. And that will help that MVP to take to the market. Whereas incubator is basically a hand-holding platform where you help with a lot of services, right? It is in terms of what kind of product they want to choose, what kind of service they want to choose, how to get a seed funding, how to get investors, venture capitalists, even having their presentation skills, how they can refine it, present it to the people so that it becomes viable. People start investing in it, and how to create a network. So that is when we talk about an incubator, where for accelerator is more about mentorship. Now you have a product, how quickly you can take it to the market, what all things you can do. So that is a difference between an incubator and an accelerator. And there are certain similarities also. Now, when we see how these in India, how or various cities or the emerging cities where the distribution of Indian startups. So Bangalore, in fact, leads in terms of whether it is e-commerce, or e-commerce can be hyper local also. I was talking about Zepto that day. So by the time I booked, I ordered the milk for the tea, and I made the payment. I came to my living room. The thing was already delivered, and it was within 7 minutes I got the delivery. So that kind of thing people are targeting, right? There are a lot of things that are working on analytics. So let me give you an example. When we talk about analytics, we already have a lot of data, right? Now, in order to have the data in a form which you can interpret, analytics can play a huge role. So there's always a space where how better you can do analytics. So that's why there are a lot of companies who are emerging in big data, right? There are companies who are creating amazing dashboards, creative dashboards where you can drill down, right? Try and see how things are happening around the globe. There are various services that you can offer, right? Comes with NCR, which is same thing. So what we see is tech-based startups are huge, followed by other things also. In fact, even in agriculture nowadays there's a technology that is helping the agriculture to do better. In fact, one of my colleague, in fact, we studied together in school. Now he's running a startup which is into agriculture, helping the farmers first to get the data in terms of the weather data. Second is in terms of harvest data. Third thing is providing a platform where they can sell it to the market. And some of the products, are highly perishable. So if you are selling the apple from Shimla to Kanyakumari, there's a lot of things that you need to do in terms of logistics, right? Similarly, if you are selling your ginger, which is there in Meghalaya, to Mumbai, there's a lot of logistics that is there. So what is the best market where you can get your best product? There's a lot of things that needs to be done. Similarly, there are a lot of things that is happening in Mumbai, Hyderabad, Chennai, Pune on various kind of startups, right? Plus, there are startups that are happening in B cities, B tier towns, right? And even in villages also. So this was the major trend, but it is happening across the India and across the globe, in fact, right? Now, when we talk about incubator and accelerator, there are certain differences. There are certain things that we talk about. One is the duration, and duration, we said that for accelerator, since you already have a MVP, how quickly you can take it to the market. So you're taking that MVP. So generally it is from 3 to 6 months and may last to be in a year. Whereas when you are talking about incubator is a journey, right? From the time you are thinking of a concept, you are taking that idea, refining that idea, taking it to the market for testing, and then growth, right? Now, funding is it can be not for profit when we say incubator, whereas when we talk about accelerator, it is for profit because they know the potential of that product and how quickly they can get the benefits out of it. Whereas when we talk about incubator, is more about funded by academics, by government, and creating an atmosphere or inculcating basically an ethos of entrepreneurship in the hearts and minds of people, right? So that is about incubator and accelerator, right? Okay, the other thing is on the assessments, where for incubator, it is competitive application process from local community, whereas accelerator, it is extremely competitive because you have a product. You know that with whom you are competing. And by the time you think of a product and service, there might be somebody who might have already done it. So there is a rigorous selection process for identifying whether it is a niche thing, what is the value that is going to add, what help it can do the global community, and that is what basically helps. But there are certain things which are common also when we talk about incubator and accelerator, right? Like there is a training thing, there is a mentoring involved, there are support services, and based on this, there's a selection also, there's a funnel also that you do, right? So in fact, this diagram is self-explanatory. So we know that what are the things that are common, what are the things that are not common. And whereas when we talk about accelerator, it is basically on cohort basis, right? Whereas when we talk about incubators, it is more about providing the facility, grooming them. It has an open-ended, because you never know whether one process will take 6 months or it is going to take more than that. All right. Okay, so how exactly it happens, right? So you have a business idea, you have an opportunity, you work on that, form a team, which is of like-minded people. There are mentors there, there are experts there, and they can have meetings, they can have, checking what kind of, whether, let's say I want to roll out a product for a bank, let's say, which will help the bank to do a quick KYC, right? Now, definitely I'll be interacting with a person who has either worked in bank or has an understanding of the process, or has or the technology that I would be using as part of that, right? So that kind of matching and mentoring is needed. Then based on that, it will also help me facilitate the various connections that I have, whether I want to take it to ICICI Bank to use my KYC, quick KYC for, let's say, video KYC they want to do, or to any other banking institution, right? So it basically helps in that facilitating the connection. Then based on that, when I have all this, do I have a capacity to build that? How quickly I can roll out? If there are any changes, what all changes I need to incorporate? So there is a lot of human resource development or the capacity building that I need to do. Or if I'm creating a service, or if I'm creating a product, whether I can do that. So there is a capacity in terms of manufacturing I need to have. So all those things needs to be incorporated in the design. And then you have to validate the model. And we have talked about there are various things that you can do, taking that into a test market, getting it tested, getting the reviews and incorporating it back so that you have a minimum viable product which you can take it to the market. All right. Now, when we have a view of how exactly where exactly this incubator or the accelerator fits in the entire life cycle of an idea. So it all starts with an idea where we talk about the product or the service that we are going to have. We form a team. We talk about how we are going to funding. So initially, the people who are having that idea, they basically use their own funds. And when we talk about how we can refine it, right? How we can enhance that service, where incubator and accelerator comes. So during the process, if we have the MVP, we generally take the accelerator route where we can take it to the market, or if we are still in the process of identifying the process, or refining the process, refining the idea, we take the incubator thing where we are trained on that. Then we generate, once we have it, we have a talent pool where we have a system in place, where have people to help out in the processes, where we take help of the policies of government if they are providing a tax exemption, and use all those policies to grow, to refine, to develop, to nurture ourselves. So that is the entire journey that journey happens for a early startup. Now, what are the various support network that we can use as part of it? There are various councils that are there. There are various institutions that we do. In fact, couple of weeks back, I went to IIT to understand what they are doing in terms of IoT, right? And then I realized that there are a lot of people there who are already working on that. There are so many innovative ideas that they are bringing in terms of how IoT can be used in terms of, let's say, pollution control, right? So when I went to IIT Kanpur, Kanpur is on the bank of river Ganges, right? And there's a lot of pollution there. So is how a startup can help in getting Ganges cleaned. And in that, they were planning to use IoT devices, right? Similarly, for pollution control, to understand how is the pollution level in a particular area. So as soon as the sensors senses that the water has reached a certain threshold in terms of pH level, or there is a hardness there, it basically triggers a signal to the department, to the relevant department, and that relevant department will send a team to check that area if somebody has released effluent in that and quickly control it. So that is the kind of impact these kind of technologies can have. Similarly, when we talk about IIMs, there are NIITs who are giving a lot of focus on such kind of things. There are institutions like IIE, there IDII, right? All these, or small and medium scale industries run by the government. Entrepreneurship and business development cells are there, right? Or there are technology entrepreneurship development board by government of India. There are various incubation centers and accelerator centers that basically helps provide services in terms of how we can refine our idea, how they, in terms of providing help, in terms of networking, in terms of mentorship, in terms of so many things that they do, right? So these are the support networks that is provided by either by the government or by various institutions or various trusts who basically help in bringing this culture. Then there are various places from where we can get the research, get basically our research done. Now, we talked about MVP. And when we talked about MVP, there is a very important thing is whenever you think of a product, there has to be some rationale behind why you chose that product, right? And when you choose that product, that has to come from somebody would have done a study, right? Whether NESCOM has done a study, whether AC Nielsen has done a study, and they found that there is a gap which can be tapped, or you have gone through World Bank Group report on certain things, and you find out that these are the areas where we can work on it. These are the areas they need an improvement, whether it can be healthcare, it can be immunization program, or it can be a security thing that you can provide. So there are a lot of things that you can get when you basically analyze and read the report and analyze it. So basically it will help you give an insight of how things are happening in various sectors, various industries, where could be your focus areas. There might be certain product you might be making in India but selling abroad, right? So these kind of research things will help you in identifying that target segment also, in fact target market also, right? Where we need to position that. So there are a lot of reports that you can analyze as part of the process. Now, when we talk about formulation of new policies or existing policies are things that keeps on changing. There is nothing that is constant, right? Only change is constant, right? So and things needs to improve as the technology is improving, as the entrepreneurship is evolving, as the mindset of the people, the country, the citizens are changing, the policies are also changing accordingly. So how students, startup policies with the university can evolve, policies for startup funding can evolve, right? So these are the places where we can take our inputs in evolving or formulating a new policy. And there are a lot of existing policies like Atal Innovation Mission is there. There's a Make in India, there's a Swachh Bharat, there is Smart City Plan. Now, before the start of this, I was talking about there's a smart city thing that is going to happen in Pragati Maidan, where a lot of startups are going to set up their stalls, right? And I'm very keen. In fact, you should also try and plan for a visit there. You will see what actually is happening in the ground, right? How technology is revolutionizing the way we think, how technology is improving the way government governs, whether in terms of waste management, where they say gila and kachara, sukha kachara, segregate that, and what happens with that kachara, whether they refine, whether they recycle it, because or how the pollution is getting controlled, or how that CCTV camera, which they are installing in various junctions, are going to take and help in terms of traffic governance, giving challenge to people who are not wearing helmet or wearing seatbelt or are overspeeding, right? There are so many such kind of startups that you will be seeing as part of that, as part of Make in India or a smart city plan. So try and be part of that, right? There are so many things in which you can help in terms of bringing business to your thing. So let's take an example of tourism, right? Now, a lot of people who come to Delhi, they go to surrounding areas, right? So can they set up a plan where they can just plan the journey in terms of they see that, okay, fine, they want to go to Jaipur, and it basically gives you an itinerary of the things that this is what you need to do. This is how you can optimize your route. If you have got 10 days, these are the places that you can suit. So there are various different kind of things that you can think as part of this process, right? All right. Now, there are 4 institutions basically we have for which support startups. There are incubators, which we have talked about. There are accelerators we have talked about. There are angel investors we briefly touched about, and there is a hybrid where which basically between 3 to 2 years, and there are mentorship programs. So there is a hybrid model also that happens, right? I want to quickly touch base on government policies. So we talked about what are the various policies that we have. Atal Yojana, Skill India. There are various startup procedures that customer is that we can have, right? What are the various policies that government is having in terms of helping the startups? What are the various technology incubators that we have, right? Now, there are certain things that government is doing in terms of legal support, in terms of funding the incentives there, in terms of incubation program. There are various events, there are various competitive grants that government is giving. There are various in helping the filing the patents in terms of credit guarantee. There are a lot of things that government is doing. What I want to touch about is basically the challenges for the startup, and this is a very interesting thing, right? Not all the startups that people have thought of, they survive. There are startups that fail also, and there is a period. Now, what we need to understand here is every innovation grows through a valley of death. So the down curve that we see is basically a valley of death, and always and every single time this applies to equally to SMEs. It applies to enterprises. It applies to startups also. Most startups are aware of valley of death concept. However, very few or established business realize precisely how and where this is going to occur, right? And where is it happening? It is happening, if you see it, the valley of death is between when the seeding is happening, when the seed fund is there, and between the early stage, right? So just before your growth, there is a funding gap that happens, right? Now, for those who are not aware, here's a classic image of valley of death, right? As the diagram shows, which is the valley of death, is a representation of different phases in innovation project, which goes through an idea of commercial scale success versus the benefit, financial benefit, right? Or the cost. It incurs during the journey of an idea. So we have an idea and there's a commercial success. The upper trend is a commercial success. Between this idea and the commercial success lies the valley of death. And following some of the key issues that are often misunderstood with the journey through valley of death is the most serious and substantial mistake while misunderstanding is it is not the depth of the valley that is there. It is the basically it is the length, right? So there is a very common saying around that people do not lack of water doesn't kill a person. It is how long they have been without water that kills them, right? Now, that is the same with this valley of death. It is not the lack of funding. It is how long this lack of funding is there with that early startup or the enterprise. That is basically challenging. If it is short, they may overcome it. But if it is really long, and that is, we have to shorten that. And how we can shorten it is, there are a lot of ways in which it is there. There are a lot of, people try and get funds. There are a lot of angel investors, they invest. There are a lot of seed funding that happens. There are various round of, funding generation that they do. If you have been following Baiju or Ola or these kind of startups, how they are getting funds from various banks, various financial institutions, right? From the market, how they are doing it. So there is always this thing that we need to keep in mind. This is same as what kills a business. A business may have a short-term dramatic cash cap, right? But as long as the budget for how to recover from that and resolve this thing very quickly, this will survive. The startup will survive. Otherwise, they will fall in this trap and they will just perish. On the other hand, when the business has only small negative cash balance and but has no budget to resolve to the negative balance, and the negative balance continues for an extended period of time, right? The business will not be able to trade out from the problem and will need to be closed. And therefore, when an innovation project does not run smoothly, it takes its own twists and turns. This delay, basically this is a roadblock, and the length of time it takes to get off the VOD extends, and thus the likelihood of recovering also becomes challenging. And that's what we need to keep in mind. Sometimes it might be people are not appreciating your minimum viable product. It might be you are too much attached to that you don't have a B plan, or you are inflexible to innovate your product, innovate your service, and that is what is leading to all these kind of issues. And with this, we will close. I think we were right on time.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for very informative talk. You have covered various aspects of incubators, accelerators, the difference between incubator and accelerator, the startup ecosystem in India, indicators of growth, also discuss about the validation of business model, the support network, organization leading research, the startup policy formulation, the funding opportunity for the startups, as well as challenges for the startup. Very interesting slides with the diagrams. So thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Any participant, if you want to ask the question related to the topic, you can ask. The now question and answer session is open. I am granting you to unmute yourself and you can ask the question.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
So,
Hello.
what are the things that a startup should keep in mind while connecting with an incubator and accelerator?
So you are saying what are the things that you need to keep in mind?
Yeah, like what will be the benefit or profitable points for the startup to be connected with the incubator?
Oh, wonderful. That's a very interesting question. So now we are talking about a person. Let's say you are planning to have you have an idea and you want to take it to a commercial level. The
Yes, sir.
challenges, you might not be knowing the challenges because either you are not a serial entrepreneur, or you don't know what is the route that you need to take, right? Now we also saw, if you saw that, realize that there is the we all might be having idea, but the challenge is there's a valley of death, which means that you need to take this idea to a successful level where it can be commercially viable. Now, this is a journey, this is a path, and this path will be easier if you have somebody who can guide you, who can mentor you, plus you have a network. So when we talk about like you guys are in college, right? You can do the same study as an individual thing. You can get the books from the market and read that. But what is the benefit that you come to college or to an institution is there you meet people with who are like-minded, right? You discuss your things, and in the process there's a lot of networking that happens. I gave you an example of uh, how a person who was you know uh, getting tired writing a code, ordered a coffee from a cafe coffee day. That cafe coffee day, the Swiggy went to cafe coffee day, got the thing. Since he was having some other orders, he did a dunzo, and the dunzo guy came in a Yulu and delivered that coffee to that person, right? Now if we have this kind of networking, right, where you have people who can interact, who can give you and lot of ideas or a lot of teams get formed when you are into the incubation center itself, because you find like-minded people there. It might be possible that since your idea is at nascent stage, you join the incubation center, you refine your idea there, you refine your product there, and who is going to help you is the mentors. The incubation center might be calling somebody from, let's say, somebody who is from a leading institution or has worked in that area or has extensively researched in that area to give you certain inputs which you can incorporate, right? If you are creating a product or a service, incorporation of that idea or those things in your product, there is a high probability that your product or idea is going to succeed. Now, when we talk about, so this is about incubation. Now, when we talk about acceleration, you already have a product, but in order to take that to the market, you will require certain help in terms of where to get the seed funding, whom should we approach. So that is also being provided by the accelerator team, institution, whoever it is, right? How to do that. So that is why there is a need of accelerator as well as incubator in the process, which will help you in taking the idea or the MVP to have a commercial level where you can sell it. Hope that addresses your answer.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other question?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So, sir, you have told us about various schemes and programs through which a startup can connect with the incubator or accelerator.
Right.
So, can you please share that presentation with us? It would be very helpful.
Sure, I'll share with Dr. Sir, and he will share with the rest of the team. That should be okay.
Yes, sir.
Right.
A participant is asking for your PPT, and
It was very good.
they are in shy in nature. That's why they have not raised the query during the session. But I have received several query that, sir, can you provide the PPT of sir of 3 sessions? So
Noted. I'll do it today itself, Dr. Gaurav.
thank you so much, sir. Okay, so sir, Again, I would like to thank you for accepting our invitation and delivering such an three invited talks on different topics. You have covered several topics. So these all sessions are very fruitful for our students and early entrepreneurs. Kindly accept gratitude of love from on behalf of Institute Innovation Council as a token of love.
Thank you so much. In fact, I enjoyed all my sessions with all you guys. I wish you all the best. And I see there are various budding entrepreneurs. I wish them all the best. They have taken a right path. It might be challenging, but it is going to give them satisfaction, and they will be, in fact, they will be participant in the growth journey of our country, right? They will be giving employment, and that is the key thing. And I'm so much excited to be with you here and share my thoughts. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Once again, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.